Okay, we're going recording now. Okay, you guys wanted to talk to Ed, and I said that I would try to get him on camera one way or the other. And the question that keeps coming up is, why don't you like being on the live show at night?
Because there's a lot of smart Alex on there that like to make stupid, bogus comments that have nothing to do with even what we're talking about. And she's getting tired of it, and I don't want to deal with it.
Okay.
Plain and simple.
What kinds of stuff would you like to talk about on a night show?
I like to talk about hobbies, like train stuff, slot car stuff. Maybe my other subjects I like to talk about would be like the drive-in theaters, circuses are interesting, stuff like that also. I'm open to different subjects, but my main ones is slot cars and trains and hobbies, toy hobbies, model kits, stuff like that.
What did you think of that? What you saw that trip that the guy at Technology Connections took across the United States last night, and we're watching on YouTube.
Remember, you mean the Amtrak train?
On the Amtrak train.
Yeah, that was about what they look like, because I've been on Amtrak several times myself, and that's about what they look like. They're not, Amtrak isn't, well, I guess they have more fancier type trains if you pay more, but most of their trains is for the basic ticket of getting somewhere, which is very comfortable. It's basically nice.
The only thing is I saw with those romettes was people wondered how would a person with a disability, like he needs a walker or maybe even a wheelchair, be able to get into a room on a train. I guess that's a good question.
I think they have handicap accessible units also. I think they do. Don't quote me on that, but I would almost guarantee they probably do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that there is any more future of them adding more rail lines for more train passenger service in throughout the United States, or do you think it's mostly going to be just freight railroads that are going to still be pretty much a predominant thing for the rail lines to be for the future?
No, in the future, President Biden wants to put a lot of that money in the infrastructure bill toward Amtrak and toward the freight railroads, which we're very happy about. Giving them help also, because they could probably use the extra help also, because any way you look at it, I think that Amtrak and the freight railroads are going to end up sharing a lot of the lines anyway. Amtrak shares a lot of the freight rail lines as it is, so yeah, you would have to probably repair both. And as far as passenger service goes in the United States, it's definitely on the upswing, especially in the big cities. There's a lot of call for cross country, a lot more lines, and a lot of old track lines were taken out 50 years ago. When everyone thought passenger rail was done, they ripped a lot of the lines out across the country. Now they're going to be putting a lot of them back or building new ones and going cross country. Yes, it's something definitely that's part of the plan. Yes, definitely. And American railroads, the Amtrak ridership this year broke even for the first time in its history, and it's at an all-time ridership high. I took the Amtrak from Tampa, Florida, back up to Connecticut here, and I enjoyed the ride very much. Very comfortable. People were very nice, and you can get up and walk between cars. If you're going to travel and you don't need time to really get somewhere, you're better off to take a train because it's really relaxing.
Right. Do you think it would be worth it for me or you, especially since I'm more of an introvert, to want to just rent a small, like, roomette on a train, and especially a long distance train, so at least I have a room to go to, which also covers 5 meals a day, versus traveling by coach, which you have to pay for your own food?
Well, if you're only going for one night, because, like, say we're going to Florida, that's only 24 hours to go to Florida. So it's really not worth it. In my mind, anyway. Unless unless you got the extra money. I mean, the chairs are pretty comfortable. You recline them back and you sleep in a chair. But if you're going on a longer trip, yeah, it'd be nice to have a sleeper car. If you were going on a longer trip, like cross country or something, yes, definitely.
Now, you've been on buses too, so I'm going to compare train to buses because I think that would be a little more easy to compare. How do you like the train versus the buses?
I like the train much more. Buses I didn't care for much at all. You can't even really get up and walk around, and then you're basically just sitting in your seat. And you can only get out of the bus when they tell you can, if they make a long enough stop to go outside or whatever you want to do, smoke or whatever. I don't smoke anyway, but yeah.
Okay.
Trains are much nicer.
Next question is, what do you think of their President Biden's mistakes in Afghanistan and what's going on with the situation with the pandemic and the government's
I don't really
infrastructure bills?
I don't really want to talk about politically stuff like that as far as all that goes. As far as Afghanistan and all that, I really don't want to comment on that. Although
Okay.
I will say, for me, I'm against all that stuff. That's all I'll say.
Do you think the government is going to default by mid-October, or do you think that they're going to get their act together and get the debt ceiling raised and a continuing resolution to continue to fund the government through to December of this year and raise the debt ceiling till December 2022?
I think they're going to get the job done, yes. Because I don't think they have much of a choice but to get it done. Because it affects everybody in the whole. So yeah, I think they're going to get the job done.
Okay, and the question that keeps coming up is, what direction do you think Michelle's channel should go? What do you think Michelle should feature on her channel?
I think she should have topics that people would be interested in talking about, and have a base topic show about a topic, and people will call in to ask. For me, it's like trains or slot cars or whatever. People call in to ask about that, or a general topic that people would, or usually people get interested in a topic, then they start talking about it. That's one idea I have. Other than that, she's going to have some of her own ideas about what she might want to bring up as a topic, and then see if anybody wants to discuss it.
Yeah. Now, you say, in your honest opinion, you think the problem with some of the callers is that you think that they have a problem with arrested development, or they haven't really matured into adults. And that's what they talk about, the stuff that they talk about.
As far as nonsense callers, the ones that just want to call in, they've done a lot of that in the past, just calling up, making nonsense phone calls and making fun and all that kind of stuff just doesn't go. So I would just click, hang up, that's it on that. We don't have no time for that kind of baloney, period. It just has no place. Anywhere, really.
Yeah. What do you think about YouTube in general?
YouTube is a good thing to have, so people could, have a freedom to say stuff and have it, over the computer lines and stuff, and the internet and stuff, and be able to view it. So that's a nice thing to have.
What do you think about the fact that, as of lately, YouTube has been preventing a lot of people from discussing a lot of things on YouTube that really should be able to be discussed because of freedom of speech?
I don't know much about their policies. I wouldn't. I really don't have much to say about that because I don't know about their policies, but I'm sure that they must have a reason for having certain policies. One thing they should have a policy against is people harassing people on there. That needs to be stopped, if there was a way to stop it.
Yeah. Do you think... What do you think about the fact that Michelle makes that's me, of course, and Lumi make money on YouTube, how does that make you feel? That Michelle makes pocket money on YouTube.
That's fine. You know, if you have enough viewers on your, people are watching your show and it's worthwhile watching, they're going to give you a commission off the advertisements. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
I sense there's a but in there. Would that be that what you find alarming is the kind of people that for some reason Michelle's show has become a lightning rod for people that pick fun of her and would it be because of her multiple disabilities, or because you know I have multiple disabilities and like I'm wondering is if do you think that they're making the people that join my show, a lot of them are making fun of the fact that I have multiple disabilities?
I don't know. Everybody has their different. First of all, like I said, they shouldn't be doing that kind of thing at all. Period. That's all I have to say about that. So they shouldn't be calling in to pick on people at all in the first place. That's what I basically have to say about that.
Okay. What do you think about you watch videos on YouTube like I do? What would you say is the most type of popular videos on YouTube right now?
Probably music videos. Lots of people watch the music videos. Definitely would say music videos, yeah. Because there's really big realm of music and all types of music that people listen to. So yeah, I would say music's probably right up there, probably one of the most popular, if not the most popular instrument for YouTube.
Do you think that the how-to videos, the DIY videos also have some popularity as well?
What's that? What type of videos?
Do it yourself, make unique projects and things.
Yeah, those can too, because people see and they're interested in it. They'll contact you. They'll want to see more of it. Yeah, I would say yeah.
Yeah. So one question that keeps coming up on my channel is what would encourage you to make more videos on my channel or even on your own channel? What would you like to see?
I like to see somebody else doing more. I haven't seen any other people doing like on YouTube really. I haven't seen a channel that's based on, say, train hobbies or slot cars or none of that. Maybe they're out there. I just haven't seen one yet.
They're out there.
Probably out there, yeah.
I've seen channels on both, from the hobbyist perspective. I think you can admit one thing. It's amazing when you think of how many videos are out on YouTube that, you know, did you know that there's over, in a 15-minute period of time, more than 4 hours of videos are uploaded every 15 minutes?
Really?
Yes, 4 hours of videos are uploaded every 15 minutes on YouTube. What kind of content would you like to see my channel cover?
I don't know, because that depends on a lot of what you want it to cover. You know, it's what your interest and so I'm not sure, you know, what to say on that, except, you know, it'd have to be something that you'd be interested in, the content, to have it on your channel.
Yeah. How do you feel about being back in Winston?
I like this town because I like it here because it's quiet. It's not noisy. People stay to themselves in a way that's good. When I was in Tampa, it's a whole different. It's like living in New York City. It's like, it's all right, but the weather's nice, but it's definitely not quiet like here in Winston, because this is a small little country town, whereas Tampa's a big city. So there's definitely big differences between the two. But if you like quietness and tranquility, you're going to get it in Winston, because this is a nice little small little country town.
How are you going to handle the colder winters that are coming this year? You haven't been really subjected to cold winters for a long time.
I'm not going to go out in the winter. I never did before anyway. When I had a car in the past, I never drove in the winter when it was slippery, so I still all do the same things. If I can, I want to go back to Tampa in the wintertime anyway, or back down to Florida for a few months. But I am coming back here because this is my home state. The only reason I would go is to get away from the bad winter for a few months. And it's really only a couple of months out of the year, and then the rest of the year is nice here. I mean, we're talking basically April through October is all right up here. It's just those like November, and it starts getting a little dicey, and after that until March.
Yeah, how is your gout doing now? Because people do ask me that question. How do you feel with your gout right now? Do you think you're going to be able to get back out walking around a little bit outside soon?
I'm doing a lot better now. I'm finally over that pain I had for almost 3 months. I never had a bad gout attack like that. Finally over it now. I'm finally over it.
You know you have a doctor's appointment on Tuesday, right?
Right.
So, you want to add anything more to this little clip? Because as I said, it's pretty short. I don't think it's going to be really long, man. Because I have to get ready for Silvermoon Radio, too. But
yeah, I would like to add something. I said I wasn't going to talk about political issues, but I'm not going to. But I am going to say this. I really think that they really need to increase the amount of people that's on disability. Everybody. It's not fair that some people should be getting so much more than other people. Now, I know these people work for that, and that's why they're getting more. I guess you could argue that, yes. But I still think the government should, and it'd be the right thing to do, would be to increase the amount of money, because it's almost impossible for anybody to live on $700, $800 a month. You know, especially if you live by yourself or you don't have no family or anything, you're in trouble.
Because that's a good question that everyone brings up, is why did they always consider that people in SSI, okay, which is the 794 comes from, think that you can live on 794, which is $297 below the federal poverty line?
They probably just didn't really bother with it because nobody ever really pushed the idea of increasing it. That's all I could say.
Do you think that would help people who are homeless to finally begin the process of trying to get better housing?
Well, put it this way. I've seen a lot of people when I was down in Tampa that did get Social Security checks that were homeless because they couldn't afford to pay the security deposit or even barely afford to pay rent on what they were getting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's pretty a shame. That's a shame, but that's the case.
Well, what about the fact that many landlords right now have been increasing the rent during the pandemic? My personal view is I really don't think that, like they send out stimulus checks, that's nice for people, but every time they do something to try to help people, let's say in this case the government, there's private entities such as these landlords or whoever they are, they try to gain from it. Now, what I'm trying to say is, okay, now these people got extra money, so okay, I think I'll just raise the rent. Now, that's the thinking that's ruining the whole economy is, the minute they think there's more money in the system, the rich people, especially high-income people, and they don't even need the extra money, they have what they call assessors and speculator people that go around and say, well, okay, this is what we got to do, that's what we got to do, and everything ends up going up, especially rents. You know, because the commercial landlord like BlackRock and all these other big companies that buy complexes.
I'm saying I'm not saying anybody in particular. I'm just saying, well, we'll just say you asked about landlords. The minute they see there's more money around, they're going to try to go up on rents. That's just basically the way it is. And it's not right, it's not fair. I think they should have rent control, but that's just the way it is.
I guess that brings another
And
question.
another thing too is I think they really should build more housing, make more housing available for low income and disabled people. Build more housing complexes, renovate more housing complexes for people, because these are all taken. You can't even get into any of these places.
What about offering the abandoned military bases to those who want to get a home for free, with the stipulation they have to fix it up themselves?
That would probably work, but that's just something that they would have to bring up and they would have to raise, for an idea to put out there. So far, I haven't heard nothing like that being done or possibly being done, but that would be a good idea.
Because, there's a lot of military bases, and especially in the West, that have been abandoned by the federal government, that they still own. They don't even sell them. They're still sitting there. A lot of them are just rotting away. Instead of being, offered for, pennies on the dollar, they're just letting them sit there. Of course, the government doesn't pay taxes on them, so they don't have really a reason to push trying to get those houses out there, because they're not paying taxes on it. They're not losing money. They think that they need to do something to help especially now with the eviction moratorium had expired. Where are you going to put all those homeless people?
I don't know. That's a sad thing, though. That really is.
It is. I'm not talking about the freeloaders. We're talking about the ones that tried the hardest to get the money to pay the rent.
It's a messed up situation, because if you look at the landlord's point of view, there has actually been people with smaller landlords and bigger landlords, and smaller landlords, people that have lost. They live in a 2-family house and they're renting out the upper unit just to help pay for their own mortgage. Situations like that. So it's a very big realm of area there as far as landlords and people go. It affects the landlords a lot also, and a lot of their businesses.
So it sounds to me the problem with this country right now is it seems like some of the priorities are pretty much messed up.
It's like a 1-2 punch. It seems like right now everything's hitting from every direction.
Affordable housing has gone through the roof. You can't even buy a house.
The epidemic has really caused a lot of chaos. A lot of chaos like I've never seen in my lifetime. And it's probably going to take a few years to get everything back to normal like it was before the pandemic.
Yeah.
That's my own personal opinion only.
I think that obviously, in my opinion, I think that the government is going to have to also wake up and smell the reality. And that is that there's the special interests that are paying the lawyer, the lobbyists, or paying the Congress guys all this money to support the special interest. But sadly enough, the special interests are not necessarily working for the individuals. They're working for the big guys, the big, businesses. So I really don't know what it's going to take to turn this economy around in this country. I know I've spent many sleepless nights trying to figure that out, and I still can't come up with an answer that makes any sense.
Well, Donald Trump tried to get American business back into America, which I agree with. To bring jobs here, I agree with that. Although, in the same token, though, it was really hard to do that after all these years, because you had so many businesses and businesses that were depending on China, exported goods and businesses were depending on, and companies that were based, overseas, not just China.
Right.
So when you start doing that, it's kind of like you have to have a careful balance, because it's going to hurt the economy if you don't, I think.
Which
far
brings
as
up
that
a
goes.
whole related topic of shipping. You buy things on eBay. You see the individual situation when you're working with individual sellers. Some of them may be companies, and you've probably seen the shipping rates and the shipping times for some of this stuff is ridiculous. Like one part I was gonna order had to come from China. They told me I wouldn't probably have it until November because of the situation in the shipping ports in China. But even in the United States, companies are like charging more for shipping right now.
Well, I hate to say it, but I think that some companies are taking advantage of the pandemic situation so that they could try to line their pockets up with more money. And these big corporations, and some of them are trying to take advantage of the situation, which is the pandemic, to do so. I'm sorry, but that's also my opinion also.
Yeah.
I'm not sorry, that's just my opinion. Although that may not be true in all cases, it probably is in some.
If all things were equal, how much what would you consider the best way to deal with they say that they don't think they're going to have a lot of stuff in stock by Christmas, for Christmas. Do you think that we should actually start having the companies, for example, manufacture more of our products here, or start to move all the products back to the United States because the shipping has gotten too expensive? Or should we continue to depend on the China connection to ship the goods from China back to the United States?
Right now, there's really not. It's kind of locked up. There's not really anything anybody could do because of the shipping crisis. So this is going to be a difficult holiday any way you look at it.
Right. There's over 65
it's going to be
ships docked outside the port of Los Angeles that can't get into the port of Los Angeles because there's a shortage of dock workers to unload them. So there's a log jam of ships that can't get their stuff unloaded. Now, one YouTuber said he thinks it's because the shipping docks don't have enough workers. But I think the problem is a little more complicated than that. I think the problem is it's not just our ports that have a shortage of workers. It was the other ports that they can't necessarily find a way to reroute the ships to other ports. I still haven't figured out what you're going to do when you run out of diesel fuel when you're sitting out in the middle of the ocean. So I suspect that there's probably a ship that goes around and fueling up these vessels out there in the ocean while they're waiting for their turn at port. So the question is where's the shipping X-lax?
Well, I really hate to say it, but I think that in a lot of these cases, I don't know how many, but I think in a lot of these cases, there's people taking advantage of the pandemic, thinking they can make a killing or make more money off the situation that's going on as a whole.
Yeah.
I think that's just going on at the same time, and that's just making it more difficult.
Yeah. Oh. Given the fact that the number of ships parked outside of the port of Los Angeles alone, same thing with the East Coast ports and also the southern ports in Louisiana and Mississippi. The question is how can we get the stuff that's sitting on those ships that America needs to the people of America? Where's the magic lubricant that's gonna get these ships unloaded that are still waiting to unload? Is it a shortage of workers? Is that where the minimum wage increase comes in that they wanted to do?
Yeah, we're talking right now an international, worldly problem here, not just United States problem. So
Yeah,
that's a hard question.
International.
That's a hard question to answer. Like I say, I think that there's many factors involved, but I do think that the pandemic has affected everything.
Yeah.
It has affected all kinds of businesses and all kinds of people all across the board.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's affected housing, especially, and I think that's kind of interesting because why would it affect housing other than building new homes and materials again are being stuck in container ships that they can't get into port. But even existing homes, there was a lot of people that wanted to leave the cities to move to the countries. And all of a sudden, all the inner urban housing was like selling really cheap, but nobody was buying it.
I don't know. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on. Like I say about the pandemic, a lot of stuff, crazy stuff going on, and that's made it worse than it really had to be. It seems like since the pandemic started, all kinds of chaos is breaking out everywhere as far as economies all over the world. Well, if you look at the 1970s, when you think about the oil crisis, that was put in there by Big Oil. Big Oil wanted to raise the price of gasoline in the long run. That's what they got. That's still, when they started that, here it is years later. Now we're paying $3-4 a gallon for gas. When that started, it never stopped. We're paying higher. We will never see 50 cents a gallon prices or 25 cents a gallon prices for gasoline, ever. The industry just wanted to raise the prices. Then was long lines for people waiting for gasoline and everything. But again, that was an international problem. That wasn't just United States. That was big oil people.
Right, OPEC primarily. Right. In the case of the 1973 oil embargo.
Now again, they used their own comments at the time. Well, they had problems with the production. They had this is going up, that's going up. So a lot of that contributed to that also. Yeah. So you can't blame it all on them either.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I guess the next question would be is when do you plan to be on the show again, on the night show or whatever?
I don't know.
Alright, well, I guess that's the answers to your questions, guys. It's something I could come up with, and you can hear that it's doing better. He's still working on his computer over there. Oh, I guess that could be a question, is what do you think of the MacBook anyway? Just real quick, what do you think of the MacBook anyway?
I've worked with better. Like right now it's sticking on me. I don't know why it's sticking on me. And it keeps going back. Now it finally got off. It's not stuck. No, personally, I have the best laptop I've ever had. I'm probably just going to get another one. It's just my own personal opinion. Is I like the, what do they call the netbook? It used to be IBM. Now it's
Lenovo ThinkPads.
Lenovo, yeah.
You had a T30, I think.
Right, good machine. It worked real well, the one I had. Yeah.
I never see you search for another one of those, though.
I'm looking around right now for one. And I like to close this with this. I like to say a statement. One I'm going to close from this interview is that I think pandemic's a worldwide problem. It's going to take a while for that to things to ever get back to normal. Yes, but sooner or later it will. As far as your prices and all that stuff and along the worldly economy and all that, that a lot of that depends on suppliers and demand and everything else. There's a lot of things to consider whereas that's concerned. There's really no one answer to a lot of that, and as far as questions with the economy.
All right.
Because a lot of it's supply and demand.
As far as
people being physically sick from the pandemic, that's a strange thing because some people get sick, some people don't get sick at all, some people get it doesn't bother them at all. It's really a different, weird kind of disease like we've never seen before either.
Right. Just like some people get the flu,
right.
Some people don't get the flu. Well, thank you for being on doing the video ad. I gotta get ready for the Silvermoon radio show, but just want to say thanks for being on the video, okay?
All right. Good
Yeah.
night.
Bye bye.